All right. All right. Well, today we're going to go over decoding unsubscribes. We want to talk about the myths surrounding unsubscribes and why maybe we should have a different perspective on unsubscribes because they can actually be such a good thing for the health of your list. But before we get all into that, I just kind of want to hear, Clara, what's going on with you? What's something you're into? Let's just ease into this, instead of just tackling the topic. We'll get there. But I want to
Yeah.
hear a little bit about what have you been up to? What's going on?
Well, I am good. I am good. I am reading a book at the moment, and I tend to read a lot at this time of year. Like it's cold and dark
Yeah.
outside, and I like reading, catching up on books. So, a book I'm reading or actually listening to at the moment is called The 12-Week Year. Have you heard of it?
No. Tell me about it.
Oh, it's
Please.
so good. It's so good. It's by Brian Moran. And he basically talks about productivity in how, over the 12-week period rather than a 12-month period.
So
So,
more like quarterly.
yeah, exactly. So, when we set our goals for the year, we tend to set them across an entire year. So, like, let's say you've got goals to hit by December, you're in January now. You're going to give yourself an easier time because you've got another 11 months to go. Whereas Brian Moran says actually we should set them over 12 weeks because we're more likely to be motivated to do them. So yeah, I found that really fascinating. And he talks about um doing kind of like end of quarter reviews. So you see
Mm.
how like you do over that time. And you're more likely to achieve your overarching goal if you have these like mini, you know, goals in between. So yeah, I highly recommend it. I don't know if you've read any of his other stuff, but
No.
he's a New York Times bestseller, so
Cool.
definitely worth checking out.
Yeah, and I think that that's just the green light for us to schedule our quarterly meeting. We did an end of year meeting for goals. We did another one too, like at some point in the year. Was it before the last quarter? I don't remember when we met and had a goal meeting, but maybe we should schedule one for like end of March.
Yeah, so Angie and I organized these meetings, one towards the end of last year and one at the start of this year. And really we're about holding each other
Yeah.
to account, right? So
Yes.
um and I don't know like if, how like we want to play those out, but I find them really useful for being held to account because it's
Hmm.
so easy to say, yeah, I'll do that. And, the date comes around and it doesn't happen. So, yeah, I think more regular goal setting and accountability is what I need.
Yeah. And I think we naturally give that to each other too. Like as we one thing with Clara and I is we're usually voice memoing over Instagram DMs pretty regularly on the daily sometimes. Um, so we also are able to help each other through like smaller situations and remembering big picture for one another. Like, oh yeah, but you're working through this. So yeah,
Definitely.
we should do a quarterly meeting at the end of March.
I'm going to hold you to that. I'm going to hold you to that.
Okay, I'll send the invite.
How
Um,
about you? How are things with you? What have you
they're
been up to?
good. They're good. I just got home from a parenting coach session. For
Oh,
those of you who don't know, we have two kids under 5. Well, we're gonna have a 5-year-old and then we have a 2-year-old. Um, and I don't know, I guess according to what they say in the world, our 5-year-old is a quote unquote strong-willed child. But I think so that's why we initially reached out to the parenting coach. But it's just been more so for, like, us. Not really I mean, of course, having to do with the child, but also, like, how we're handling and managing our emotions and our reactions and having plans in place and redirecting and because everything that our oldest son does is quite typical, quite normal. Yes, he's a little bit more hard-headed and, will, you know, challenge us maybe more than, our younger son. But it's just that's also very normal. So, yeah, just another parenting coach session where I just feel like I went through therapy and I'm just like, "Yep, this is what I have to work on. This is what I have to work on." Which is good because it's really been a journey for me and my husband and, learning. Um yeah, I guess like how to manage our emotions or how to manage our kids better. And it's really paid off, not just in, um, the household and again, how we're managing it, but also like ourselves and,
Mm.
not getting so angry and where we have a lot more patience and we have a lot more control over situations and we're a lot more confident in situations. Like I know what to do. And that really, like, the kids really pick up on that. So, the more confident that you are, the more they just, like, respect you. Like, our parenting coach always says, like, kids act like they don't want to, not be controlled, but in a sense, like, kids act like they want to be free, but really they thrive on routine. They thrive on boundaries. Like, they need it. And so underneath all the surface, they're craving that from you. So that's just been a journey to like create more of those boundaries and like that controlled atmosphere, but it really does pay off.
Credit to you guys for investing in a coach. I think it's so many parents are now trying to do so many things, run a
Ugh,
business or
yep,
in a busy job, run a household, maintain family life, cook dinner. It's be in a marriage. Like there's a lot going on, right? So it's overwhelming. So kudos to
always.
you to getting a coach, It's
Thanks.
great.
Yeah, yeah, it's really paid off. Highly recommend for anyone thinking about it. Um,
Mm.
because yeah, it's made our home so much better, for everyone. So, but are you ready to talk about unsubscribes? Because I am.
I am. I'm very much ready. Let's do it.
Um, okay. Well, let's just introduce, well, I don't want to say like what is an unsubscribe, but like I guess you have to have an unsubscribe option in all of your emails, right? Let's just talk about the foundations, like of course we've got Google and Yahoo coming up. You have to have it. You have to have a one-click unsubscribe. You have to make it super easy for people to unsubscribe. Um, so and unsubscribes are a very natural part of email marketing. Every time we send an email, we know we're gonna get unsubscribes, right? So it just is what it is.
It really is. And I'm really looking forward to talking about this because it's something that comes up a lot. And I think there's a lot of fear attached to unsubscribes. And actually, we want to delve into that today and give you guys some reality around what is actually happening when someone unsubscribes and what it means for your business. Like, there's so
Yeah.
much we want to share with you.
Yeah, yeah, really excited about that. The first thing I kind of want to bring up are the common myths surrounding unsubscribes. When you
Mm,
hear unsubscribes, it automatically it's just a negative connotation,
yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And what do you find with your clients? Like, how do they feel about unsubscribes? Like, what do they think about it?
Oh, exactly as you say, like people see it as a negative thing
Hmm.
because it's almost like rejection, when someone
Hmm.
unsubscribes, people take it personally. Um, and it's really interesting actually that, we want to be looking at our unsubscribe rates closely because we want to be monitoring, particularly with the changes coming up. I think it's now 0.3%. That your unsubscribe rate must be. It used to be under 1% was fine, and now the rules are tightening up. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, the myths around um, people not liking your content
Yeah.
actually, well, is it a bad thing if they don't like your content if they're unsubscribing? Like, what are your thoughts, Angie?
I think that it's kind of twofold. Someone unsubscribing doesn't necessarily mean that they don't like your content. It could just mean that they're just not interested in your products or services right now. I have had clients say, I sent an email that was really heartfelt and personal, and like it was about like my values as a brand or whatever. And they're like, and then I just got all these unsubscribes. And so that made them scared then to be vulnerable and share that stuff. And I have to remind them, you had 3, 5 people unsubscribe, but how many people are still on your list? You know?
Yeah.
How many people opened that email? Did you get any clicks? Usually, the engagement far outweighs the
Yeah.
unsubscribes, and I think it's like you said, people take it personally, especially when they're creating their own emails. This I think this is another thing with it. Our clients typically
Mhm.
are writing their own emails, so it is personal to them. Um, but it doesn't and I try to remind them, it doesn't mean that they didn't like, that to me, that's a great thing that you're sending emails about your values and that you're being vulnerable. Um, I think it probably meant that they just aren't interested in your content. Maybe their inbox is just full of a bunch of emails and they went on a whole unsubscribe spree. I do that all the time. Typically when I unsubscribe, like I'll a lot of the stuff that I sign up to, I'm getting gifts for my family members or my husband or
Mm.
all of this stuff. So there's certain particular reasons why I get onto lists. And I don't need those gifts anymore. Or I'm personally not interested in that stuff, and that's okay. So I think like there's just so many situations or reasons why people unsubscribe. And I think to assume that people just don't dislike your content, it's that's gonna hurt you more than it helps you. It's just gonna make you back away from emails, you know? What do
Yeah,
you
absolutely. Like, absolutely. Like, think of it this way. Imagine you are selling mattresses and your customer buys a mattress.
Yeah.
The next email, is that going to be so relevant to them when they have a mattress?
No.
Now, think of your services and your products. How are people going through your customer journey? Are they already in the process of buying from you? Have they already purchased from you? Because someone unsubscribes, it means that they're not interested at that point in time.
Yep.
It doesn't mean that they'll never be interested in buying from you. It may be that they've got what they need for now. It may be that this isn't the right time for them. There's a
Yeah.
number of reasons, but there is no point in getting hung up on
Uh-uh.
reasons why people are unsubscribing. It's we can't we can't take this personally. This is just business, right? We need to just
Yeah.
move forward and focus, as Angie says, on look at all the people that have engaged, have clicked through, look at the value you are delivering to those that um, are engaging with your email. Yeah, I think it's a tendency for us business owners to focus on the negatives, right? We tend to look at,
Yeah.
even if it's one or two, three people, we focus on the negatives, and let's accept that unsubscribes are part of business. It's going to happen.
Mhm. I think another myth then that people believe is that it's such a big loss for their business, which I totally get. You work really hard to get people on your email list. Growing your email list is no easy feat.
Mhm.
You have to throw money at it, or you have to put in a lot of time and energy around it. There's no way around those two things,
Mhm.
in my opinion. And so I think people are like, oh, I try so hard and I put money into this, and that just means like that's another sale that's lost. What do you think about it unsubscribes and like it being a loss for their business?
It's interesting because it's really all about perception. It could be
Hmm.
that someone subscribed to your newsletter or your email list, and they might be someone who's undecided about working with you. And then as they've got to know what you're about, they realize that you're not quite right for them, or vice versa. So an unsubscribe, I personally wouldn't see it as a loss. It's a loss of someone that no longer wants to receive your content. The same time, it could be as simple as, if we bring this scenario into, let's say, for example, you meet someone networking and you exchange business cards. Um, that as an exchange. So, you know, it's same as your email subscriber, whereby you've exchanged details, but then you don't hear from that person ever again. It's kind of a similar scenario. I personally think it's no loss for your business. It's just these things happen. The one thing that with all these myths that we want to make sure you're doing is making sure you're monitoring that this isn't happening on a large scale.
Yeah.
You know, like if you're suddenly getting 10% unsubscribes, then yeah, there is a problem. We want to make sure that, you know, then as long as the numbers are small and as of February they are below 0.3%, then you have a healthy unsubscribe rate. If it's over that, then, you know, that's where we need to be looking at what's going on. But, you know, these myths are linked to very small numbers as
So
an overall
small.
percentage.
Yeah.
Tiny,
Uh-huh.
not worth
That's
thinking
why,
about.
yeah, that's why you said perspective is everything.
Yeah.
I really love your point on everybody that you meet, everybody that you talk to, everybody that you tell, this is what I do. It's just an opportunity for your business. Most of the times, it's not going to amount to anything, and that's
Exactly.
okay. It's just opening up more opportunities for yourself. And if we can look at, okay, everybody who comes onto my list, this is just an opportunity for me to share who I am, what I offer. And I know that most people who get on my list probably aren't going to take me up on this opportunity. And that's okay.
Mhm.
I'm doing this for the 1 in 10 or 1 in 100, whatever it is for me and you. So because it's just a numbers game, purely, really getting people on your email
Exactly.
list is a numbers game. And when I was in sales, we had this thing that I think about all the time. It's like, how many no's does it take for you to get to a yes? So
Mm,
you're just getting through the no's, So if I need
exactly.
20 no's to a yes, all right, where's my 20 no's? So that I can
Exactly.
get to that yes. And that's what it's about. And then we don't dwell on the 20 no's. We know that's going to happen. We know it's going to take a little bit. So perspective is everything.
It really, really is. And yeah, absolutely agree with you around everyone you meet. It's an opportunity, but not all opportunities turn into something. So that's a great way to describe unsubscribes, I think. You know, it's fantastic that you're getting people onto your list, but not everyone, you're not going to be everyone's cup of tea,
Yeah, that's okay.
and that's
Um,
okay.
yeah, it's okay. Let's move into the positive sides of unsubscribes. Now, I mean, I think we've kind of, it's okay to get unsubscribes. It's normal, but like, it actually is good for you too.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
which I think if we had that perspective mind shift on it and learned about this and started, thinking about this more, this would be even more helpful on how you perceive unsubscribes. So, what are the positives of unsubscribes, Clara? What do you think?
Oh, there are a few actually, and it's really good to share these because I think this doesn't get enough airtime.
No.
Um, so think about your email list as a house, something that you want to keep clean and tidy, um, and you want people who are on your list to be engaged and interested in what you have to say. By someone unsubscribing from your list, it actually is a positive action because it means that you're removing anyone who's no longer interested. Therefore, if you think about it, would you want someone in your house that is no longer interested in hearing from you? You know, we want to be keeping it healthy, keeping it clean, making sure that we've only got the people on there that want to hear from us. And what does that mean then for your performance? Well, actually, by
Mm-hmm.
removing unsubscribes and those that are no longer interested in your content, it means that your metrics are going to look a lot
Yeah.
better, a lot healthier.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, an engaged list is what makes sales through email marketing,
Mm,
which is our overall goal with our emails, right? We want to use it to make money for our business. And
exactly.
we get sales in email marketing from people who open our emails and click through and go purchase something. So if someone's not doing that, then what is the point of having them on the list? I mean, yes, we can take time, we can nurture those people and But at the end of the day, if somebody hasn't is on your list and hasn't been engaging with your content for like a year, it's like, okay, that them not doing anything is actually hurting your open rates, it's hurting your click rates. And when you talk about deliverability, showing up, staying out of the spam folders, staying out of the junk folders, um, that's what these email inbox providers are looking at. They're looking at how many people are actually opening your emails and engaging with your emails versus how many people who aren't. And if there's not a lot of people engaging with your emails, then they're going to see that as a bad thing. And they're going to start saying, or the bots are going to be like, this looks like spam. This might be spam. And then you might have a higher probability of going into the spam. So not only is it good for your overall, like, your metrics make you feel good, but it's also good for inbox providers. If we're getting rid of people who are unengaging and we're keeping those click rates high, because then they're going to say, oh, these are, this is a legit email account. They're sending good content. People like their content. We're going to keep putting them into the primary inbox or the promotional tab, whatever you're using. So, which is so, so important.
Yeah, and you know what? Deliverability is gonna, it is already a hot topic for the next couple of months that, we want to make sure that we are abiding by these new rules and keeping our lists clean and healthy and making sure that if someone puts their hand up and says, I no longer want to receive your content, we quickly move them out. We
Yes.
no longer want them there. We want this, right? We want people to tell us they're no longer interested.
You don't want them to mark you as spam. You
Exactly.
don't want them
Exactly.
to be ticking those other boxes because again, Google, Yahoo, those inbox providers, what's the spam is, point, is it 3% or something like that
I
now?
think
They've
it's
just,
3%.
yeah, they've just tightened that up too. Um, so yeah, you want to make sure that you have people on your list who actually want to be there.
Yeah.
Because it could hurt
And
you.
yeah, exactly. And you know what? If you do lose people over the course of a year, like we say, keep an eye on your rates, on your unsubscribe rates. But ultimately, a smaller, more engaged list is going to be much more profitable for you in the long run because they are engaged and they're more likely to buy second, third, fourth time from you rather than a group of people who no longer care for your content. So, yeah, there are many positives to unsubscribes because ultimately you understand who wants to be on your list. You understand that um unsubscribes will help your deliverability because we are in effect seeing, you know we're seeing the positives of unsubscribes in the sense that we're not going into spam, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
um and
Which could have
also,
long-term repercussions.
oh, I honestly, it's
You don't
really
want to
difficult.
be in that pickle.
It, yeah, it's really, really difficult to come out of the spam folders. Like it's once you're marked as spam, you're in big trouble.
Yeah,
And
that's
you
gonna
may not
cost
necessarily
you
know. Yeah.
that's gonna
And you may
cost you
not know.
cash monies.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
It's,
don't know.
you won't know. You won't know. All you'll see is like a decline in your performance, but you won't know why. So trust us when we say there are positives to unsubscribes because, you're keeping you only want to keep a list of engaged people, and the quicker you can unsubscribe someone, the better.
Yeah, and I kinda wanna talk a little bit about the list size because
Mm.
that's the big thing with people, which it's true. The more people you have on your email list, and if you're constantly growing that list, you have more of an opportunity to make a sale. But I have been inside so many email accounts that have, 10,000, 30,000 people on their list, but they they aren't getting sales. Those people aren't engaging and they're not buying. Whereas I've been in lists of 600 or 1,000 people and they get at least one sale or two sales from every email they sent. So the size of your list is not indicative and does not guarantee the sales that you will get from that list. Those people have to be engaged and they, need to, you know, I guess you want them to want to be on your list because those people, they're going to buy if they want to be on your list.
Yeah, it's so funny that people get caught up on how big their list size is. And I actually ask a different question to say, how engaged is your audience? Because
Yeah,
exactly,
that's
Angie,
what
as you
matters.
say, it matters more than size, right? So
Yeah.
quality is important over quantity. Um,
Yeah.
so
Well, let's go into like your subscribers' preferences because
mhm,
there are so many. If you like, I mean, of course, we want to keep people engaged. And how do we maybe stop them from getting to a point where they feel like they need to unsubscribe? Because there's also things that we can do. Say someone
mhm.
unsubscribes because they don't want to get an email from you every week, but if it works for you to send an email every week, um, then there are things that you can do to not send them an email every week and cater to their preferences and then maybe keep them on and they might buy from you in 3 months. Let's talk about those things that we could be doing.
Yeah, it's a great subject actually, just around understanding subscriber preferences. So one thing you can do, so say for example, you're used to sending a weekly email and you might find that you're in a situation where you're seeing slightly higher unsubscribe rates. What you could do is set up an option for your subscribers to opt out of the weekly and instead receive a more reduced frequency from you. So, say it's weekly, you can offer them the chance to hear from you fortnightly or monthly. Um, and why is this an option for you? Well, it means you don't lose the subscriber
Yeah.
completely, but you give them choice. And people love choice and people
Yeah.
love to have the opportunity to take ownership of their preferences. So I've seen a lot of companies do this where they give people the option to receive much more reduced frequency, or they say, would you like to take a break for 3 months? Um, Either or option depends on your business and the kind of services and products you offer. But I think both are great options to explore.
Yeah, it's fairly easy to set up a manage preferences page. Um, the only thing that you have to do is I think the challenge with that is getting people to actually fill it out and them knowing that they have that option. So we've kind of talked about how you could ask people like through your onboarding, through your welcome series, let me know your
Hmm.
preferences, let me know how you
Hmm.
want to hear from. I mean, you could create an email that is for tell us your preferences right now when they're super hot and super engaged, as people tend to be when they first get onto your list. But I do find that, there are a lot of businesses out there that they haven't made a managed preferences page. They may have, thousands of people on their list already. In that case, I would make the managed preference page and I would send an email to everyone asking them to fill it out. You're not gonna get everyone to fill it out, but you will get, a good amount, enough to possibly save you some unsubscribes in the future. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah, I
it's
think it's a
always an
great
option.
shout. Yeah, it's a great shout. And actually, Angie, there are people we know that I don't want to call them out here, but there are some really simple things that people are doing that are potentially costing them subscribers. So it could be that, they've got multiple lead magnets running and people have signed up to, many of their lead magnets and they might be receiving multiple emails on the same day. What could happen is
Mm,
I unsubscribe from one email and that unsubscribes me from all emails. So
mhm,
having this set up in a way that says to me, right, if you want to unsubscribe, you only will unsubscribe from this type of email going forwards, or you can unsubscribe from all, but making it more a more considered set of options for subscribers so that they don't accidentally unsubscribe from everything. The the thing that's happening here is that many coaches, consultants, service providers, e-commerce business owners don't realize that they can set this up quite easily themselves.
Yeah.
And so therefore they're losing subscribers by people essentially unsubscribing from all, because that's the only option they're giving people. So giving people choice and managing the subscribe process, the unsubscribe process rather, is a great way to try and, maintain healthy subscribe rates, but also giving people what they want rather than unsubscribing for more and losing them forever.
Yeah. And so in that sense, instead of losing them, they self-segment themselves. They
Hmm.
say, or I want to, it could be a frequency thing, or like you said, it could be a content thing, right? If we have a lot
Yeah.
of lead magnets or we have a lot of ways people have come onto our list, and these people do have specific problems that not might not be the same problem as another person that's on your list. And I
Yeah.
think one thing that we haven't really discussed is segmenting.
Mm.
But in that managed preference phrase, if you give them an option to be like, I want to hear content about X, they're obviously having problems with that or they need help with that. Whereas another person's like, well, I want to hear content about Y. So when you give them the option, "Oh, I'm gonna go into the Y bracket or I'm gonna go into the X bracket," they're actually giving you this incredible opportunity to really personalize the next email you
Mhm.
send them to speak directly to their problems, and speak directly to their needs. That's the kind of email marketing, that personalized, segmented email marketing, that really gets good engagement and sees great numbers. So that's a really good thing. If you can, if they self segment themselves and they tell you what they actually want to hear about, you can really capitalize on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, the flip side of reducing unsubscribes is by doing this, right? Giving
Yeah.
people the content that they're interested in. And so segmentation allows for that because you're only giving people the content that they're most likely to want to hear about. So therefore, you're reducing the chances of an unsubscribe. So yeah, segmentation is a wonderful opportunity for you to really speak to your subscribers' specific problems without having to kind of spray and pray and send the same content to everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. Because another thing about unsubscribes, to manage them better is making sure you have good content. I mean, we talk about this so much. That so much of email marketing is the content that you're sending. Is it relevant? Why should they care? Does it help them in some way? If it's not, then yeah, they're gonna say goodbye, and that's okay. But
Yeah.
we could really take more control of our own subscribes or even the revenue that we're seeing from emails if we really invest in compelling content, and especially compelling content to different segments of people depending on where they are on the buyer's journey, and what they're running into and how you can help them.
Yeah. And the great thing about email marketing is there's no guesswork. You can see from your previous campaigns, your previous workflows, like how is your content performing? What is it that's resonating with your
Mhm.
audience?
Yeah.
Because we suggest that with any content, you're looking at performance, what kind of results are you getting from your previous email? Like, what were the click rates? Were people opening? There are so many indicators as to like how people are engaging with your content. So when people say to me, I don't know what to write, I'm not sure what's working, what isn't working. Well, I always say, show me your last 5 emails, tell me how they're performing, because that's such a great indicator of,
Yeah.
like what's working, what
They'll
isn't
tell you.
working.
Your
They'll
audience
tell
will tell
people
you what's
vote.
working. Yeah, people
People
vote.
vote.
It's called a click.
Exactly, exactly. And there's like I said, there's no guesswork. You don't have to I say with other marketing disciplines like PR or advertising or maybe like, billboard type advertising, it's hard to know what's working. With email, we can see the interaction, we can see the click. So your content is so, so important.
Yeah, and it's very easy to take more control of that content just by looking at the numbers. What got me the highest click rate? What's the product that like I send out to people and people go gaga over,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
then just like what more content can I make around that, you know?
Mm,
Um,
yeah.
so
What about re-engagement? How do
yeah, I want
we
to talk about
re-engage
that.
people? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, win back campaigns, right? I think I always set up for my clients not just a win back campaign, but then also off of the win back campaign a sunset flow.
Mm,
We'll talk about that, taking unsubscribes into your own hands. But first, we always try like one last ditch effort to get them back on board or to just see that if they're interested, maybe send them an offer, or
mm,
just straight up ask them if they're interested in hearing from us. Um, I do find, people engage with those. And then once they start engaging with the win back campaigns, maybe they buy something, maybe not. You could
yeah.
possibly get them to, you're in front of them again and, you can,
Yeah. Re-engage. I actually I'm working on one at the moment for a
oh,
client. Yeah, it's a re-engagement strategy, then it flows into a sunset flow.
hmm,
And it's interesting because it's trying to work out what, like, the definition of what disengaged is for this particular
okay.
business, because it varies, right, for each
Yeah, that's the
business.
hardest part.
Mm. So we need to do some um, look at some insights as to what disengaged means for this business. But there's some really cool things you can do, like, the typical "We Miss You" campaign, which
Yeah.
can work really well. But you've also introduced a time lapsed offer, which I can't wait for us to test. That typically works really well when you have some urgency. So you're giving a small segment of people that are lapsing an offer. And if they don't respond, then they go into a sunset flow, and
Hmm.
we essentially you're essentially managing people out of your list, but giving them so many chances to stay, so many chances to stay. So there are so many different tactics you can use, but sunset flows are a really good way to kind of manage people out, but giving them
Yeah.
that final chance to say hello, to say
Yeah.
stay.
Yeah, and in that sunset flow, I always have an email or an option for them to manage their preferences too.
Yeah,
Like I use the manage preferences. Typically the sunset flow, I only make like 2 emails. I don't know, 2 or
yeah.
3 I would cap it at. Because it's gonna get low engagement because you are sending it to people who are not engaging intentionally. And I always put like, what do you want to hear about? One last ditch effort. You could also add like either in those win back or sunset flows, what's new? Like what things have you added to your business? What updates do you have? How are you making their lives easier? If they've implemented, any other ways that people can work with you or take advantage of your products or just like make shopping on their site easier. That's other stuff that I will also try inside those
Mm.
flows.
Yeah,
Um,
that's a great shout. That's something that a lot of people don't do, is actually communicate. Because when people sign up
yeah,
to hear from you, then maybe that was some time ago and now maybe they've stopped reading. Well, they have certainly stopped
yeah,
engaging with you. So
of course.
now's the time to tell them, here's, what's new with us. But also it's a good chance to get some feedback, I think, from the
Hmm.
subscriber, like what's changed for them? Why, you know, we ultimately want to know what's happening to have changed. What's the driving reason behind the change in behavior, particularly if they were highly engaged before. um so any kind of feedback can really help, because it could be that there's something going wrong with the customer journey. It could be that they had a bad experience and no one knows about it. It could
Mm,
be that they just simply no longer need your service or product. But it's dangerous to make assumptions, so feedback at this point is so useful.
that's a
The
very good point.
Yeah, but the thing to be aware of is that as you said earlier, Angie, is that you may get low responses at this point because people have already maybe checked out, but it can be really interesting to see what people say when they complete these surveys, you know. It's such useful insight that can feed back into the business.
Yeah, I always see those surveys, at least for myself, when I go to unsubscribe from a list. You'll see they ask you, "Why are you unsubscribing?"
Mm, yeah.
Um, I've never actually implemented that on the unsubscribe, like on the back end of an unsubscribe. But I would implement it into like a sunset flow for sure.
Yeah, I think it could be really interesting because you could personalize that um that survey beyond I'm receiving too many emails. Like if we can
Mm,
really understand what's going on, we might be able to go
yeah.
back and improve our unsubscribe rates overall. So there are feedback loops to allow you to understand what's going on, particularly for those of you that are receiving high unsubscribe rates. And for those that are receiving high unsubscribe rates, we suggest that you take that's something you have to prioritize looking at. You know,
Oh yeah.
if it's if there's a problem, you need to look at that straight away because that will cause you harm. So yeah, don't leave that. That's something that yeah must be looked at right away.
Yeah, and then if they go through your sunset flow and they don't engage with that, they don't click it, at least in Klaviyo, then it tags the profile
Mm,
as unengaged. Or, I mean, you can have it tag whatever you want. And then I usually take that segment and I just unsubscribe them myself
yeah,
every few months or so, just to keep the list clean and healthy because that is the most important thing above all. It could be really hard to do. I think it's a lot easier for me to do as the email marketer, not the
yeah,
person who is the business owner. I see how that could be just like a punch in the uh, but again, the list health is so important and it is important to clean your list on a regular basis because a lot of people they're not going to unsubscribe themselves. They're just going to not open your emails and keep hurting your open rates and click rates and possibly your deliverability. And so in those cases, we need to look out for ourselves. We need to look out for our list.
yeah. 100%. I think that with the rules tightening, I think every 3 months is a good
Yeah.
time to check in and look at your unsubscribes. A lot of the email service providers give you, they actually help you identify who the kind of inactives are or those that are lapsing. And you can choose what to do. We suggested doing a re-engagement flow,
Hmm.
a sunset flow.
Hmm.
But you might choose to just unsubscribe them if it's your list. The one thing actually that I wanted to say, when it comes to losing people, the other side of it is to ensure you have people coming onto your list. You're
Yeah.
always growing your list because
Yeah.
the reality is, yeah, you're going to lose people through the unsubscribe process, as we mentioned, for all the reasons we've talked about today. But there are there always should be people coming onto your list so that it's continually growing. Um, so as much attention as you are giving to your unsubscribe process, you should be also looking at your list growth and bringing new people, fresh new people onto your list.
I actually read a stat earlier or last week that said that every year, which I mean, this is from, I don't know who they polled or whatever, but every year, 22% of your list becomes unengaged, which is
Yeah.
such a big chunk. I believe it,
Yeah, so do
because
I.
I do see my clients who aren't really focusing on list growth. Um, yeah, their email marketing is not doing horribly, but it's definitely not progressing and growing.
Mm,
Um, so I believe that for sure. That, you will always, just as we will always have people unsubscribing, we're gonna have a big chunk of people who are becoming unengaged, and we need to replenish that list, knowing that that is the natural cycle of an email marketing list. We have to keep
yeah.
feeding the wheel because people are going to
Yeah.
leave.
Yeah. It's just the way of the world. It's just one of those things that happens in email marketing. We have to accept it. But at the
Yeah.
same time, remember, if someone has, I think of a clothing brand that I have recently unsubscribed from. I
Mm.
know probably later on in the year when I'm looking for a new dress, I will
Yeah.
resubscribe.
Yes.
So
Mm-hmm.
don't think it's forever. Don't
Yeah.
think it's like a breakup that's permanent. It could be actually that that person just needs a break for now and they'll come back to you if they really like your stuff and, you know, they enjoyed working with you or, purchasing your products or services, they'll be back.
It's not
Just
the
because they
end.
unsubscribed, yeah, it doesn't mean they hate you. It doesn't mean they never want to see you again. It just means not right now.
Yeah, that's all it means, not right now. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I do that all the time. I will unsubscribe. Like I said, I buy a lot of gifts, at Christmas time.
Yeah.
After Christmas, you
Yeah.
see a lot of unsubscribes because that's
Yeah.
exactly what people are doing. They're like, well, I know I'm probably not going to buy this again, at least maybe until November or October, whatever. Um, and they will unsubscribe themselves just to clean up their inboxes, and kudos to them, because if they're
Yeah.
not going to buy from us throughout the year, then okay, that's fine.
Yeah, it's a two-way thing. They no longer want to receive content that is not useful, and you you are left with a clean and healthy list of people that only want to hear from you and read your content. So it's a win-win.
It is a win-win. I think we about covered everything with unsubscribes. Do you have any last thoughts about unsubscribes, or
I
what I
think
hope people
really,
take away from this?
yeah, I think the takeaway that I'd like to, make sure that people are left with is just the mindset around
Yeah.
unsubscribes. And hopefully we've like shared some tips and advice today on actually it's not a bad thing, it's just a not right now. And you know there are positives to unsubscribes, as long as you're monitoring your numbers and making sure you're doing the things we talked about today. I think you'll be in a good position. So yeah, we don't want you to feel like unsubscribes are a bad thing. As we said, there are many positives. It's just about, it's kind of reclaiming the power over your list, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's owning your list.
It is. And like what happens because of that is a healthier list of engaged people.
Exactly.
So better inbox placement, or just making sure you're not put into spam, and hopefully attracting more people who are engaged and want to be, receiving your content. So
Exactly.
honestly, at the end of the day, like, unsubscribes are a very good thing. It's a very positive thing for your list. So hopefully we can kind of flip that switch on the perspective for you, and you can welcome
Definitely.
unsubscribes with open arms, because it's actually a good thing for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, so I guess we'll round it out. I always like to round it out with client wins, or maybe weird stuff we're seeing in the inbox, or what we're working on this week. What have you got for us this week, Clara?
Yeah. I'm actually working on a really cool customer journey, building out some flows for a client. And it's really exciting because I'm working through the onboarding experience. And yeah, there's some really interesting things we want to try. We want to actually do um, a summary email where we bring in multiple updates into one weekly email. So a little bit technical, but something really exciting for the client. So yeah, I'm
Cool.
looking forward to trying that one. How about
Yeah,
you?
you'll have to tell us how it goes, what type of engagement you see from it, so we can possibly
Definitely.
implement that. Um,
Definitely.
I have a client who is launching. She does 2 launches a year, for a program, and we're launching on Saturday. We have all of the emails set up for it, everything's set up in the
Wow.
back end. But I'm really, really excited for this client because they, like 6 months ago, started a podcast. This podcast has just been
Ah,
going bananas for this client, And because of that, their list is growing literally by the hundreds each week. So if you want to talk about growing a list and the importance of growing the list, well, because of this new growth in the list, this person would regularly see maybe 30 signups per cycle, and she has a wait list of like 900 right now,
Wow.
and we can only cap the program to like I think 80, and now we're just kind of really nervous that we're thinking about the emails that the emails that we're gonna send that are like, "It's sold out, sorry." Like,
Oh,
how do you
wow.
work
That's a
with us?
great.
So,
Yeah.
I think, like, just the opportunity that, getting into your sphere and signing up onto your email list, and it has really paid off for this client.
Oh,
So keep
wow.
that in mind, you know, the
Yeah, that's
growing the
amazing for your
list.
client. Yeah, it shows the power of an email list and actually launching to an email list and being essentially oversubscribed is amazing.
Yeah.
So, congrats to your client.
Oh, yeah, I didn't do anything. But,
I'm sure you did.
I yeah, so I've been helping, obviously, with all of the launch and everything with that, but I just think yeah, I know everybody wants to grow their list, but,
Mm,
like you said, it's hard, and you gotta put yourself out there, you gotta be doing something to get more eyes on you and your brand, and people becoming aware of you, but if you can put that energy and effort or even money towards it, man, the repercussions of that, the opportunities, the growth that you can see from that is just beyond. I'm witnessing it with my own eyes. It's very inspiring.
it's huge. Email list growth is so important, even for the biggest companies that think they have enough people on their lists. There's always attrition. There's always people unsubscribing, as we've talked about today. So you need to make sure you've always got new people coming in. So yeah, the power of an email list is huge,
Ah, it is huge.
huge.
An engaged list. I will say that I think
Yes.
one thing that's very important about this growth that this client has seen, it's, coming from a podcast that is attracting their ideal customer, attracting their ideal audience.
Mm,
So I think that's also very important is these people are also, just a good match for their services. Because we've talked about you could have a huge list, but if they're
mm,
not ideal customers or if they're not engaging, so it is important when you're growing your list. We could do a whole episode on this to just make
yeah.
sure you are attracting people who are the right fit for your products and services.
Oh, absolutely. It's so important. And I think we should do a podcast on this topic because
Yeah.
it's so big.
Yeah.
It's so big.
Maybe that'll be our next one. I don't know. You can always let us know. Email us.
Let us know. Yeah, drop us a note and let us know the subjects you want to hear about from us. We'd be happy
Yeah.
to dedicate a podcast to it.
We're not short on ideas, but we would rather give you what you want to hear and what's going to help you with your business right now. So,
Exactly.
all right. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Make sure you leave us a review. Yeah, and we'll see you the next time. We'll see you on the next pod.
Thank you.